Good evening. I think I might have made a mistake by deciding not to refill my coffee. Now I'm setting at roughly a half a cup, thinking, not a good day. Not a good day at all. What happened down in Texas is insane. I don't even know the latest yet, because shortly before the show here, I pulled up. Well, actually, I got a notification on my phone, AP News with an update, and so I haven't even read it yet. But just what I know from before is insane. Before I get into that, Biden was just speaking, and there was something about what he said that really pissed me off. Now, mind you, I've been pissed off ever since I heard about the shooting. But Biden said something to the effect of, we can't let, I don't know how he worded it, but we can't let the gun lobby, and I can't remember the exact words he used, but his sentiment was that it was the gun lobby that was preventing them from essentially, let's just say it, preventing them from taking the guns. Because, I'm sorry, I'm tired of hearing their crap. I'm tired of hearing every politician's crap, and I'm tired of hearing everybody that repeats the crap they say is crap. A lot of crap all the time, and it gets old. But to hear him refer to it as more or less like being in the hands of the lobby, the gun lobby, that pissed me off. I don't know if old Joe knows, but it's not the gun lobby that so much got the problem. They enjoy their jobs. They're making a frickin' fortune whittling your rights away. It's not the gun lobby. It's the average everyday American that understands the importance of being able to defend yourself. And before we even get to what happened in Texas, let's talk about what happened in Florida. Right? This was shared from a local news station here, shared out today. Headline is, "Back off, dude, I'll shoot you. Woman recounts shooting, killing intruder." Says here, life has not always been easy for 69-year-old Virginia Morrison, and these days, she said it's been, I'm sorry. I normally take you with me. My apologies. And I said, by the way, wait. Let me start over, right here. She called her son over the weekend with news so shocking he thought it was a joke. And I said, by the way, I shot and killed a guy in my driveway today, Morrison said. Deputies confirmed her story. Morrison said a stranger walked into her home Sunday afternoon. She confronted the intruder, but he wouldn't leave. I picked up a broom, a straw broom I'd been out there sweeping with. I hit him in the face twice with it and nothing, Morrison recalled, saying he just gave a blank stare. Morrison said she called out to her partner, Charlie, in the other room. I had my cell phone in my hand, and I threw my phone at him. Nothing. I'm yelling at Charlie, shoot him, call 911, she said. Morrison said Charlie shot into the ground, and the man soon moved out of the house, but stayed on the property. I fired a shot above him. Back off, dude, I'll shoot you. He just keeps coming toward me, so I shot him, Morrison said. According to deputies, she shot and killed the man. Morrison said it's hard to live with knowing she took a man's life, but she said she couldn't live with her partner getting hurt either. I had to do what I had to do to protect myself and Charlie, and I would do it again if I had to, but I don't want to do that, Morrison said. And I absolutely believe her. And you know what else I believe? I believe that the ownership of firearms is imperative to your personal security. And just because we have people that, for whatever reason, commit absolute atrocities like this, man. So, I do want to talk about something else when it comes to these school shootings, and I want to get this out right up front because it's something that I've been bitching about. I have been bitching about since Columbine. That's a long time. And I'm not even referring to the guns. I'm referring to the schools. Because I heard the nonsense once again today. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating because, unfortunately, there's a chance that even more children's lives could be put at risk because of their nonsensical approach to an issue. And I'm not talking about the firearms. I'm not talking about the guns. I'm talking about the schools. A fundamental flaw in the schools. So apparently, as far as I know, and this is just from, preliminary reporting that was going on throughout the day, this person was able to gain access to the school because they didn't have a chance to put their measures in place. Full stop. What do you mean, didn't have time? Were the kids out playing on the playground? I don't know. I don't know the answers to these questions because kids do go out and play during recess, and I'm sure that they don't let the kids out and then lock the doors behind them. So, I have no idea I've got a lot of questions. Nothing. This seems like an extremely horrible tragedy. Point blank. But I've got a lot of questions, and I'm sure they'll be answered in due time. A lot of them are actually rather not height of importance, if you know what I mean, about the truck and other things. But anyway, more back to my point. These schools. I heard again today them talking about how they didn't have time to get the school in lockdown. Let's just say to put the school in lockdown. Okay. And I'm gonna give it. I'm just gonna give it that, because it is what it is. Like I said, if the kids were out playing, I don't expect that the doors, all the exterior doors, would be locked. Okay. I don't know the details of this. I know that this truck was down in like a ravine, right? And I know that that you once you went up the ravine, there was like a fence, okay? And I believe that led into the schoolyard, that fence. So I'm thinking maybe this guy had crashed the truck down in the ravine, then hopped the fence and went into a door that was not on the, like, say, the front end of the school. In other words, it was a door that was behind the fence. Okay? I don't know if this is the case or not. I'm just trying to figure this out. But my point still stands. And what that is, they always talk about, about these measures that they take and the door locks that they have now, the entry systems. But there's still one fundamental flaw. They've got glass doors. I have been screaming about this since Columbine. If somebody has the intent to go in and shoot up a school, a locked glass door is not going to stop them. I don't know how many times I have to scream it. We haven't seen that rear its ugly head yet, but I'm sure just a matter of time. Because, you know, the schools have been doing different things, taking measures, their lockdown policies and stuff like that. It's not like they haven't been doing anything. But I just see this glaring problem there that I really wish they would address. Anyway, I wanted to have a few words to say before we got into the news portion of it. It's crazy. So let me go ahead and take it back on over. This came out from AP just shortly before I came on. Well, this says now 48 minutes ago, so I got the notice just shortly before I came on. Texas school shooting kills 18 children and 3 adults. So now there's an updated number there. And let's see how long. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll just read this article here. An 18-year-old gunman opened fire Tuesday at a Texas elementary school, killing at least 18 children, officials said, and the gunman was dead. The death toll also included 3 adults, according to the State Senator Roland Gutierrez, who said he was briefed by state police on the fatalities. But it was not immediately clear whether the number included the assailant. It was the deadliest shooting at a U.S. grade school since a gunman killed 20 children and 6 adults at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut, almost a decade ago. And it came just 10 days after a gunman in body armor killed 10 black shoppers and workers at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York, in what authorities say was a racist attack. Federal law enforcement officials said the death toll was expected to rise. They spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to release investigative details. The gunman entered Robb Elementary School in Uvalde with a handgun and possibly a rifle. And I've heard this multiple times now, and we are already, we're into the evening now. We should know whether or not there was a rifle. And I will say this, there were some social media pictures that came up, and I'm sure you've probably seen that by now. However, there was also a picture, I guess he posted, of a couple AR-15s, AR-15 style, I'll say. I don't know exactly what those are. And just him holding a magazine. So, insane. Let's see. The gunman entered Robb Elementary, with a handgun, possibly a rifle. Governor Greg Abbott said officials did not immediately reveal a motive, but the governor identified the assailant as Salvador Ramos and said he was a resident of the heavily Latino community about 85 miles west of San Antonio. A Border Patrol agent who was nearby when the shooting began rushed into the school without waiting for backup and shot and killed the gunman. Right on. Right on. I'm glad that, unlike other law enforcement, he didn't hide. So, thank you for not hiding. Let's see. It says who was behind a barricade, according to law enforcement officials, speaking on condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to talk about it. The agent was wounded but able to walk out of the school, the law enforcement source said. Abbott said the shooter is likely killed by police officers, but that the events were still being investigated. The school district's police chief, Pete Arredondo, said that the attacker acted alone. The massacre of young children was another gruesome moment for countries scarred by an almost ceaseless string. Well, I'm not going to go on into the anti-gun stuff. I'm not going to do it. I get so tired of hearing it. The gunman... Well, hang on. Let me make sure this ain't... I don't know that anything else is really that important to go over. I'm definitely not going to go into the whole anti-gun spill and read all that. That is just a stance that I will never agree with. Just not bright. So I'm sure as time goes by, more details of this will come out. Again, I've had a lot of questions. Yikes. Paramedic was killed after machine fell on her at a St. Charles gym. That was a local news story. Yeah, this is what Biden said. Sorry, he said, when in God's name are we going to stand up against the gun lobby? That's how he worded it. I've got a quote here from AP, not RT and AP together. No, AP. Okay. Let's go ahead and talk about what happened with North Korea. Apparently, they fired 3 missiles. This here says 3 ballistic missiles took off from North Korea, the South Korean military reported on Wednesday morning local time. The launches came after U.S., Japan, India, and Australia, the so-called Quad, condemned the North Korean missile program and pledged themselves to a free and open Indo-Pacific that is inclusive and resilient. The first missile was fired towards the waters near North Korea's eastern coast. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said in a statement around 6 a.m. local time, offering no additional details. The Japanese Coast Guard confirmed there had been a launch of an unidentified type of missile. Within an hour, however, Seoul was reporting additional launches of unknown ballistic missiles in the north and east directions, according to the Yonhap news agency. A total of 3 missiles were launched between 6 a.m. and 6:42 from the Sunan area of Pyongyang, the South Korean military later said. Pyongyang's 17th missile test so far this year comes as U.S. President Joe Biden left Japan to return to Washington after a 5-day trip to Asia. Before departing, Biden and his Quad colleagues issued a joint statement about their role in the future of the region dubbed by the U.S. The Indo-Pacific. So, I expect to probably see North Korea acting a fool even more. Now, to what level, I don't know. But it's probably a good idea to at least consider them a serious threat at this point. So, whether... I don't know what type of military equipment that we have now. I don't, I know that there's all kinds of different type of sensors and all of that stuff. So how well could they keep, say, a ship that has a nuclear device? Well, hell, that ain't cool either, because it could be a sub. So let's ask that question. How well could they protect against a sub, say, coming from North Korea to say, the Gulf of Mexico and doing an aerial burst, an EMP? I would say that probably any country that's got a sub that's got nuclear missiles could probably pull that off. Something to be mindful of. I really don't know North Korea would just lynch South Korea or anything like that. I don't think if they were provoked, I don't think they would, but I could be wrong. I don't think North Korea desires to have the whole damn place, and I don't think that Kim Jong-un just wants to go to war for the hell of it. I think Kim Jong-un just wants to be a sovereign nation with the capability to protect themselves. Now, I could be totally wrong on that, but I just don't. I mean, I know he's crazy. I keep clicking on that. That's the last one because U.S. may waive smog rules to tame gasoline prices. So, as I'm sure you all know, the gas prices are a little bit insane around the country. And so they're going to throw more silly ideas at it. I think silly. I don't know how much of an effect this is going to have. I know one thing. Sending a bunch of oil to Ukraine didn't bring down our gas prices. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? I just would have thought it would have automatically lowered our gas prices. Let's see. Oh, I guess there's a dog barking. I heard it in the headphones. Couldn't tell what it was. The U.S. government is reportedly considering the idea of suspending gasoline environmental rules introduced earlier to reduce summertime smog. The step is expected to combat rising prices at the pump, sources involved in discussions told Reuters. Gasoline environmental standards oblige refiners and blenders to avoid lower-cost components like butane in summer gasoline. The component helps elevate gasoline's Reid vapor pressure, which contributes to smog at higher levels, particularly in the hot summer months. Last year, the White House issued a waiver of RVP requirements in Louisiana and Mississippi following Hurricane Ida. However, the latest spike in energy prices has reportedly forced the White House to consider suspending the rule to help reduce fuel costs. The U.S. administration has already lifted the requirement for summer sales of E15, a lower-price high ethanol gasoline. The waiver under consideration would apply to all grades of gasoline, though the final decision hasn't been made, according to the sources. On Monday, the average price of a gallon of regular gasoline in the U.S. hit another record high of $4.59, or $4.60 if you round up, a 50% increase over 2021. A total of 10 states and the District of Columbia are already paying more than $5 a gallon, with California's statewide average surging to more than $6 a gallon. The wild surge in fuel costs seen over the past several months comes amid rising global prices for crude. The situation has worsened since the introduction of sanctions on Russia, a major global supplier of oil. A year ago, the price of a gallon of regular gasoline in the country was hovering around $3 a gallon. Yep, and then a year before that, my goodness. Coffee time. Alright. Just going to try to plow through these. I've got 5 more tabs open than I've got the headline. But I do need a vape. Alright. I mean, strawberry milk and coffee go awesome together. Let's see. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban declared a state of emergency on Tuesday, citing the conflict in Ukraine just hours after Parliament approved the measure as a way for Budapest to respond to crisis situations. Orban announced the emergency in a video address on his Facebook page. Don't you love that? That it's, social media where we get all of our information now? The emergency regime takes effect at midnight, and the first measures will be revealed on Wednesday. To safeguard Hungary's national security interests, to make sure we stay out of the war, and to protect Hungarian families, the government needs room to maneuver and the ability to act immediately, Orban said in an announcement. Early on Tuesday, the Hungarian parliament passed a constitutional amendment giving the prime minister authority to declare an emergency if there is a war or humanitarian disaster in a neighboring country. In addition to the existing crisis categories, Orban's critics claim this will allow him to rule by decree and bypass lawmakers. Similar criticism was leveled against Orban in March 2020 when Parliament granted him sweeping emergency powers to deal with COVID-19. He insisted the emergency would be limited in duration, and it was eventually revoked in June that year. So that is what's going on with that. And then we got this cat speaking up. Kissinger warns of deadline for Ukraine peace settlement. Don't you love it when these folks weigh in? It says there is a small window of opportunity to wind down the armed conflict in Ukraine and find a peace settlement. Former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger has told a gathering of Western elites in Davos, Switzerland. Beyond that, Russia may break from the rest of Europe for good and become a permanent ally of China, he said on Monday during a speech at the World Economic Forum. Negotiations on peace need to begin in the next 2 months or so before the conflict creates upheavals and tensions that will not be easily overcome, the 98-year-old veteran diplomat said of the crisis. The outcome will determine the rest of Europe's relationships with Russia and Ukraine alike, he said. Ideally, the dividing lines should return to the status quo ante, status quo ante, he said. I believe pursuing the war beyond that point would turn it not into a war about the freedom of Ukraine, which had been undertaken with great cohesion by NATO, but into a war against Russia itself, he added. But you know what? I'm going to be real honest with you here. Up until this point, at least, I'm in agreement with him. It says Kissinger is a prominent practitioner of the realpolitik approach to international relations, which puts the practical interest of nations before the ideological stances. He recalled that 8 years ago, when the Ukrainian crisis was launched, and with an armed coup in Kiev, he advocated for Ukraine to become a neutral state and a bridge between Russia and Europe rather than a front line of groupings within Europe. Kiev instead pursued membership of NATO as a strategic goal, paving the way for the current hostilities. The opportunity that he promoted then no longer exists, Kissinger said, but it could still be conceived as an ultimate objective. The West should keep in mind the bigger picture and remember that Russia has for 400 years been an essential part of Europe, the diplomat said. He warned that the continent should be careful so that Russia is not driven into a permanent alliance with China. Kissinger addressed the escalating confrontation between China and the U.S., saying the two nations now perceive each other as their only viable strategic competitor on the world stage. He said an arms race between the two countries was a particularly worrisome scenario for the entire world. A conflict with modern technology conducted in the absence of any preceding arms control negotiations so that there are no established criteria of limitations will be a catastrophe for humankind, he said. And again, up to this point, I am in agreement with, I can't believe I'm saying this, I am in agreement with Kissinger. And I've said this before, and this begs for me to say it again. We have no idea the weapons that they have. Not even a clue. We see reports, of course, about the missiles. We see reports about the lasers. We've heard things about rail guns and rods of God. And I believe it's more than just hearsay. But I also believe it goes much, much deeper. I think these nations have the ability, at a moment's notice and anywhere on the planet, could unleash hell. I absolutely believe that. Now, do I think that there are any nations with this type of technology that want to do that? Nah, Putin don't. Well, not. I'm not saying no, but Putin don't. I don't believe Putin wants to do that whatsoever. I really don't. But I don't know about China. China concerns me, and maybe it's because I really don't know as much about it, and that could very well be, but man, if there's a country, well, Iran might. I don't know. I don't just blindly believe everything that I'm told about these other nations, right? Because we're told a lot of propaganda. That's just a fact. But China, to me, in my opinion, that's a tough call, because I think it's in their culture. It's in their just who they are. That if they need to, they'll just pull out all the stops. And it's. I think dishonor is a very big deal in China, and I think that they will do everything to prevent that from happening. And so, yeah, they concern me when it comes to these other weapons. The ones that we don't know about. So anyway, this, just goes on into that, I assume. But I would agree that this situation in Russia, if it doesn't cool down soon, it's definitely gonna get much larger. I mean, look at all the weapons that all those different nations, including our own, are pumping in there. It's insane. Russian and Chinese military planes conduct joint flyover. This says Russia and China conducted joint air patrols in the Asia-Pacific region on Tuesday, the Russian Defense Ministry has revealed, as Japan and South Korea expressed concerns regarding the flights. The Russian ministry said in a statement that the Russian Tu-95 strategic missile carriers, I love those planes, they remind me of our B-1B, Chinese Xian H-6 strategic bombers, and I'm sure I said that wrong, participated in air patrols held over the Sea of Japan and East China Sea. The bombers were escorted by Su-30SM fighter jets. The duration of the flight of Russian strategic missile carriers was about 13 hours, the ministry said. It also confirmed that at certain stages of the route, the strategic missile carriers were escorted by F-2 aircraft of the South Korean Air Force and F-15 of the Japanese Air Force. However, the ministry emphasized that both Chinese and Russian aircraft acted strictly in accordance with the provisions of international law and did not violate the airspace of other countries. The event was held as part of the implementation of the Military Cooperation Plan for 2022 provisions and is not directed against third countries, the Russian Defense Ministry said. The air patrols coincided with a meeting between leaders of U.S., India, Australia, and Japan at the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue Summit in Tokyo. Japanese Defense Minister Nobuo Kishi told reporters that his government had communicated to Russia and to China its grave concerns over the provocative flyovers, noting that these concerns are related to both Japan's security and regional security in general. He confirmed that there was no violation of Japanese territorial airspace, but emphasized that collaboration between China and Russia was concerning. As the international community responds to Russia's aggression against Ukraine, the fact that China took such action in collaboration with Russia, which is the aggressor, is cause for concern. It cannot be overlooked, Kishi said. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the Russian and Chinese planes entered and left the Korea Air Defense Identification Zone in the Sea of Japan several times on Tuesday, but never violated South Korea's airspace. However, as JCS clarified, Seoul's Air Force fighters had to implement tactical measures to prepare for a potential contingency. And that part's just, yeah. Oh, we had to send up a couple planes. This stuff, it really truly does happen all the time. So, this in and of itself, to me, isn't too concerning. I mean, come on. Look at how much NATO and all that's flexing, you know? So, speaking of flexing, Ukraine is starting to get a little overconfident. Have you ever noticed this? It's like he's bipolar or something, because he's like, one moment he's like, oh, I'm gonna get him, I'm gonna kick Russia's ass, right? And the next moment he's like, the United States needs to send me more weapons. And it's just like every other day he's either crying or talking about, I don't know. It's just what I observe. What? Did I get huffed or something? Oh, I guess I got huffed for that. Jeez. Alright, so as the headline says, Ukraine pledges to enter Crimea by end of year. Says Ukrainian military will turn the tide in the conflict with Russia and enter Crimea by the end of the year. Kirill Budanov, the head of intelligence at Ukraine's defense ministry, has said. The situation on the battlefield is going to change in Kiev's favor from August, when the weapons that are being supplied by the West reach Ukrainian units. Budanov told Ukrainian Skaya Pravda newspaper on Tuesday. Maybe. That's what will bring forth the turnaround, because now we are catastrophically short of heavy weapons, he said. Russia has 12 months of resources to wage a full-scale war, and after that the conflict between Kiev and Moscow would end with the return of our occupied territories, the intelligence chief claimed. When asked if those occupied territories included the Crimea, which overwhelmingly voted to part ways with Ukraine and join Russia in a 2014 referendum, Budanov replied by saying that by the end of the year we must at least enter Crimean territory. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, who also spoke on Tuesday, shared completely different projections of what's going to happen on the ground in Ukraine. Despite the large-scale military assistance from the West to the Kiev regime and sanction pressure on Russia, we will continue with the special military operation until all of its goals are fulfilled, he said. So I want you to pay particularly close attention to what Russia's doing. All right? They're gearing up for war. Ukraine is doing the same, thanks to the United States and other nations. They're all gearing up for war. The United States? What, you might ask? What? Yeah, I know. We're running out of the Stinger missiles and the other ones, I get that. But we got something more important that we have to do. And we have to host drag queens for children at Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany. That is what we are doing on the global stage right now. I'm not even going to read this story. I can't. I haven't read this story. And I won't. The headline's enough for me. What am I supposed to think on this? we've got a bunch of people dead from an elementary school shooting. We've got global interests that are trying to get us involved in a world war. We've got insane inflation in this country, massive shortages here and still to come. And our government thinks it's still important to ram this down people's throats. And I hope I didn't give anybody any visuals. Too late, right? Sorry. Father's going to judge this country hard. There's no doubt about that. I reckon I can run through the headlines and get out of here and get my duties taken care of. And I think we're going to have a late night munchies. So. But we can't talk about it. And I can't tell you it's chicken because a dog might attack us. Let's see. Turkey's Erdogan slams Greek PM. Not physically, just, verbally. It'd been a whole different other situation. EU explains absence of Russian oil embargo. EU state calls for naval coalition to escort Ukrainian grain. Airbnb is quitting in China, says the media. China denies snubbing Zelensky because that's such a big deal. I'm sorry, did I offend you? They should send him a box of Kleenex. Let's see. Covered that. UK, this is a big deal. UK issues a beer shortage warning. So, things are about to get real over there. Saudi Arabia explains position on Ukraine. Well, your country doesn't move. You're going to be in the same position. No, they pretty much they said they really don't want to pick sides. I don't blame them. Not that I like Saudi Arabia, but nonetheless, that would be my answer as well. Covered that. Russian economy to remain open, says Putin. EU member explains why Ukraine accession is unlikely. Oil giant raises green transition doubts. Protesters besiege foreign ministry building. Alexei Navalny loses appeal. I never thought he was really that cute anyway, but Moscow comments on global monkeypox outbreak. EU president accuses Russia of energy blackmail. Germany to reactivate coal power plants, says the media. Hey, Biden. Hint. Moscow explains slowdown of Ukraine operation. A key NATO member to set out terms for aspirants. I guess it would be aspirants. Russian and Chinese military planes conduct joint... Oh, I covered that. Ukraine pledges to enter... Oh, covered that. I didn't cover this. Pentagon messes up Ukrainian flag. Because... But I bet they signed that $40 billion check fine. Hungary declares... Oh, I covered that. Poland is very disappointed with Germany. Well, I'm sorry. Russian oil shipments hit a record high. I shared this because I thought it'd be good. The story of how the CIA conducted secret LSD experiments on unwitting U.S. citizens. Now, I get it. This is Russia Today, and this is right. But seriously, it talks about the MK Ultra program. So if you want to learn about crap that your own government does, maybe read a little bit of information that doesn't come from your government. Just saying. Let's see. EU leader won't discuss ban on Russian oil, says FT. Whoever the hell FT is. Bulgaria reconsidering ruble gas payments. Well, I guess so, or you ain't getting any. Let's see. Russia's iconic museum rules on foreign exhibits. Russian MPs adopt symmetrical response to ban on country's media abroad. Psaki to appear on MSNBC this fall. I'm sure that you guys are all delighted by that, and I'm sure you're going to set your DVRs. Do they still have DVRs? Do they still use them? I don't know. I've never had one. I know this TV up here, I can plug a USB drive into the side of it, and I can do DVR crap, but I don't know. Never have. I don't watch TV. There ain't none I want to DVR. YouTube. Oh, speaking of that, since I don't watch TV, I don't happen to know how I would magically come across it, but I still need to watch the latest episode of the new Star Trek. YouTube boss explains Russia's strategy. Yeah, YouTube boss. So I'm sure that's going to be accurate. London pushing Kiev down war path, says Russian ambassador. Sentenced Russian soldier can be exchanged, says Ukraine. Let's see. Covered that and that. U.S. tries to force Russian default. Covered that. I talked about Biden addressing the United States. And this is what just came up. India's XFM explains why Quad neglected Ukraine. So let me scroll down here and tweeter that. And there you have it. That's what I got for you. I'm going to shimmy out the door, and I do mean that literally because I got to take trash out, but and make some, they flap around a little bit and they act goofy in the yard. You get eggs from them. Yeah, if I say it. No, it is funny. She's over there laying down right now, but believe me, that's not going to last long. Once I touch my shoes, that's going to be the end of that. So, anyway, I am going to get out of here. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. I hope you all have a good night. I hope to see you tomorrow. As always, God, we love you. God bless you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.